Check. Hi. There we go. And it's going down. Let's go ahead. Give me a sound check on your side.
Test 1 2 3.
Perfect. And it did go quiet when you talked. That's even better. I just want to make sure that level's good. So awesome. So that's why fuss? Intermission. What? Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I did put on the intermission part. Why am I looking down at that? I don't know. So, hi. So,
Hello.
We're just, well, okay. How about this? Introductions are in order, I guess. I guess we know who I am. But I'm still, Nathan, BoogieMan, Roman. And I have a guest with me. I have, how is your last name? Evernham? Yeah. Jonathan
Correct.
Evernham with me here. So,
Hello.
we decided to just hit the play button kind of thing. Because, we've been, just because, it's fun to let other people know what we're thinking, what we're doing, and at the same time, it's like, it's possibly could be a little bit helpful to that one or two people that could listen. And that was one of our big conclusions, so just hit play. Maybe somebody,
Yep.
maybe one person will be, get something out of it if we discuss and talk things. So why keep it to
Absolutely.
ourselves? Why be greedy like that, right?
Exactly. Greed is the world's enemy.
No, we want to be gracious and give a little bit. So,
Absolutely.
and that's why we hit the live. And that's why we're just two creatives here chatting, talking. And I'm actually going to turn down the music a little bit just for my own sake, so I'm not listening to it too much in my head. Because that's one of the biggest things, like, beforehand, it's like, now I have a theme song while we're talking in the back of my head. It's quite a different experience.
What's funny is like when you're setting everything up, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into a game of Diablo, and I forgot that I had the end game music and sound just ripping, and I almost went deaf for a hot minute.
I think I've gone into too many games, and it's either my old age, or I'm just like, that needs to go down to 50% right now.
I honestly played, like, I think when I was playing WoW still, I think the master volume was set at 17.
Oh god.
Like, I'm not even, like, it's super low for the master volume. It's but like my music, it's cranked to 11. If I will crank it all the way if I possibly can, and that's whatever. But yet when I go to the racetrack, which is funny, there's a photographer there, which they were cool. I mean, that photographer was awesome. He's a retired construction worker, and he just does it for fun. He's
nice.
Literally, that's all he does, and some of the work.
Because
correct.
That's somebody that's found a passion and found what they loved, and is just doing it. Just doing it. But dang.
Exactly. It's and I walked up. It was the late models were out, and the late models, they are pretty much anywhere between 700 to 900 horsepower machines ripping around dirt tracks. So they're loud. And I normally have earplugs. I actually have earplugs that dangle from my ear, and I always take them with me inside of the racetrack. And I'm like, oh man, this is gonna suck. I don't have any earplugs. He's like, oh, I got some for you. I said, well, how much do I owe? He goes, oh no, don't worry about it. I'm a retired construction worker. I've got thousands of these darn things. I was like, oh, all right.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay. I might be
earplugs.
Maybe it's just me. It's like a little bit of germaphobe. And it's like all I could think was like, this guy sweating all these, or did he just really have that many like sitting off to the side? Like, oh, I never used them anyways. They're just piled up. And like,
I mean, they were obviously sealed. I mean, unopened.
Okay, okay, even better, because like that was my first thought. It's like, ooh, ear infection. I'm not really going for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't use earbuds anymore. Ever. Can't stand them. But yeah, the guy was cool as hell, and
awesome.
I mean, like, I needed them bad too, because it was, you know, a couple times, you know, you're what, 5 feet from the racetrack, maybe 20 feet from the cars that's whipping by you. So yeah, so I this is what I want to tell you before you went live.
Oh, before.
So,
oh, that's right. You wanted to say it while live. That's right.
Exactly. Okay. So last night, so I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, I posted a YouTube video, like a vlog style, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is yet.
Yes.
I'm super awkward, obviously, speaking and whatnot. In the video, I already see there's so many different things I'm going to improve on the next time I get a chance. But I was sitting at home and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just try to put an Instagram story out there? So I put an Instagram story out there. And I had 1 view, literally 1 view, and it's been up there for 2 days at the time.
Okay.
And I posted it. I said, hey, it's a start.
You know,
no more than 5 minutes later, there was a guy that I'm actually going to meet him this Saturday. He's one of the late model drivers at Shawano Speedway. He sends me, I get an email saying Joe Reuter has subscribed to your channel. I'm like, all right, awesome. Joe Reuter, he's got his. He goes, you do really nice work. I'm like, awesome, thank you. And it's just like, that was literally a 3-second Instagram story post of just me taking a picture of the television, showing 1 view, and then literally 5 minutes later, adds it on. And I only have 4. I mean, it's granted, we're talking less than a 1%, but it doesn't matter. It's
you
like,
never know when you're gonna catch a person when they're thumbing through stuff, right? In this case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see, that's another thing about, like, because you and I were talking. You mentioned about stories earlier, and just simply hitting them and going through them means quite a bit, because then you're acknowledging somebody else's work. Somebody else has put time into that story to post it. So by even just watching it, you give a little bit of appreciation, and after a while maybe they'll be curious and look at your stuff too. In this case, that's practically what this guy did. It's like he saw something that caught his eye. He even dug a little bit deeper, and then he reached out to you. That's you got to get started somewhere, and that's actually what I titled this episode. And you just got to start somewhere.
Hey, perfectly fitting. And
right?
Here's, I don't know if it's irony or if it's coincidence, but when I first started this year, the very first race I went to this year was, obviously cold. I ended up picking up Joe Reuter's car was the very first one I posted this year.
Okay.
And I didn't even realize it. And the only reason why I picked him is because in my line of work, what I try to do is I will go through, take a picture of a car. Hopefully they have an Instagram. Obviously, if they have an Instagram, you tag them in it.
Absolutely.
Then I go through the sponsorships on the side of the race car. If they have an Instagram, I'm tagging them in it. I'm literally posting them and everything. It'll take me 30 minutes to make a freaking Instagram post. And that's not even captions. That's just doing the research beforehand and make sure I got everybody's name, make sure I got everything right. I'll double check everything.
Exactly.
You don't want to put something, you don't want to mistype something and put,
yeah, and then ruin it forever, where it's like, am I ever going to notice that little typo after a while, or will somebody actually let me know? Because that's the biggest thing. I think
I've had very good success.
Yeah, and yeah, so you're a stickler on those little details, like I am. Because when you're giving credit, you're giving credit, you want to put a little bit extra effort. Don't even pay me to advertise them, because it goes, and that's exactly one of the big things. Like gratitude, giving gratitude is a huge thing. Giving that out freely, and just
it's
appreciation, and just that's something you don't have, that doesn't cost you anything, and by being appreciative of those that help you out is a tremendous deal. So if you're looking to get started, remember that with be humble about every little thank you, every little like, everything. And I guess that also then wraps into things that we were talking about before we even hit start, is that you don't necessarily want to drive yourself to always follow those likes. Is one of those things.
No, God, no.
But when they do appreciate that one person that did. just by simply saying thank you, sending it off, taking the opportunity to just send like 5 words of thank you, thank you for the like, boom, right there, and that can mean something to someone. Because they took a moment to hit the like, and you took a moment to appreciate that, appreciate them for, taking that time and stopping on by to see it. And like that's just one small thing to always consider. So yeah, when you're giving credit to people, you're giving them that little bit of respect, that little bit of gratitude for, allowing them to be a part of, or them being a part of it. So, in any project. I don't know, I feel
making a post right now, believe it or not.
Oh, are you?
Yep.
I guess, should I just turn on the live screen and show them the work?
Yeah.
That we that you and I had like first like started off talking about, and then went off tangent, and then like maybe we should just start sharing this, because I do have the original file before we completely tore it apart. See here. Transition. There it goes. There it did. White. Oh, I did.
There. You should probably just get a notification here in just a minute too. No, one of the very fortunate things I actually ran into was back to tagging and posting and making sure I got everything right. There's a company here called Weir's Machine. They make a bunch of race car parts and
thank you, Brian, for the like.
Not for
Brian Ricosi out there. Thank you.
They're a small company, and they're starting to break into the game of race car parts and manufacturing, this, that, and everything. And literally every single post I've posted with their name and use their at Weir's Machine on Instagram, they literally have been putting every single one of them on their storyline. Every single one. Anything I post on my story, oh yeah,
that's awesome.
On there. Kenny Walsh is a well-known race car driver. He used to race NASCAR back years and years ago. He was up here last week, and I posted a picture of his car, and I took a screenshot of it because I thought it was just so freaking cool. They specifically like had that GIF lady pointing at the picture of something, pointing at something, and they're like it's those little things that just it's like, okay, it feels good, and it's small progress, it's small steps in it, because you're never gonna even if you're a home run hitter, you got to lay down bunts every now and then.
Yeah, you got to set up the bases sometimes. You can't just go for the glory every time, right?
Exactly. Especially
it's
now.
It's about teamwork in that case too.
Exactly. It's eventually one day.
And you build it.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the thing about starting off, is it sucks a lot of times, which that's why you gotta love what you do. That is the bigger key. It's there's no instant gratification when you start. There is no achievement unlocked. It is like World of Warcraft grind at the first level in classic WoW when it took you forever to get to level 60. That kind of it takes you time. There is no shortcut. Sorry, there's no there's no God mode for you to cheat your way through it all to get to the end. Nah.
Hard work and dedication.
Put it in. And talking about work, do you want to go over this logo again?
Sure.
Show the progression. So, I'm gonna admit this because this is my own personal problem. Earlier, I should have gone live at about 4 or 5 p.m. with this anyways. But I was experiencing that self-doubt that a lot of artists do feel. And I was getting upset with myself because I knew better, because I knew what I was doing, I knew my mindset, but I still gave into it, and I said, let us just go over this ourselves and just, you know, go through this design. Now, for John here, oh, of course, oh, well, I'll just leave it off. It doesn't need to play the music. But anyways, for Jonathan here, he came to me and asked he needed a logo for his photography. And we went through quite a few things, and I made a dream board of sorts. I made a lot of things based off, and then even spent like the last week going over imagery that, you know, that you set me on the path for. In this case, you wanted something with pirates, so I looked at everything pirates, and your photographer. So those were features that I was trying to grab, but I think we both ended up liking more so the grittiness of like the pirate design stuff, because I think that's really what we ended up focusing on after this initial view. So like I guess I'll turn it over to you a little bit too, and like there's the design 1 here and then design 2, and you can see how different they are. You said you liked the first one right off the bat, right? You were liking this design more because of the grittiness? Was that right? Or am I...
Yeah, because of the grittiness. Because of the way that it looked, the way that it was more in line with that original font that I was actually going to purchase the license for. That's what I liked more so about it. And obviously, you being who you are, I don't know if you know. I'm going to say it because you're a jerk. You only showed me that one design first.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, that's what I was having to go off of, and I'm sitting there like, okay, I like it. And I remember saying, you know, remember we discussed like, hey, you know, I really want, you know, like some sort of a crest or something. And then you sort of flip the script a little bit on it, and they're like, well, you know, what about this? And my first initial thought was, oh shit, that looks like a coin.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that's pretty damn piratey to me.
Exactly.
And then and so that was like it was like, okay, I love this. And then obviously the letters, the top, you know, the font that you chose,
which you and I were both in tune for, because even when I was looking at it and when you first looked at it, I felt so relieved. It's like, okay, he does think that it needs to be thicker, because that is one thing. Is like, I should have gone through, I should have thickened it up, but I even said, no, I'll just show it this way and we'll see what you thought and get your input. And even if you didn't tell me you wanted it thicker, I was still going to go through and make it thicker and then present you with both at the second time when we're because like this is just a first revision that we're going through, and the next one will be more of like a finalized with, here's some tweaks, which one suits you best, and then it'll pretty much be done at that case. Which in this case, you and I completely like, because this is probably one of the things that I should have been streaming, because him and I were going through design and I was just flipping everything out as he was talking about it. So as for this second design, how much do you not like that one? Because
if that was
all I showed you, you would have been kind of like disappointed, I bet, right? Because I
would have been like, I'm on my way to Michigan, and we're gonna have a talk. We need to talk.
Yeah.
No,
but you know, you did end up liking it, but I even had to go do something else to show you, to bring you along with that one. So
that is a standalone.
And this is like exactly standalone.
Yeah, it was.
Feeling prior to showing you, I was really falling in love with. Did show you that, because there's always a strong possibility of me saying, no, I'm just gonna, so sorry, I only have the one. It's like, no, because it ended up working out in the end. Because you and I took a good long time, we hashed out quite a bit, and that's why we have this new revision with a lot of notes and a lot of good, you know, input that you gave me to make what you really want in the end.
Correct. Yeah. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Right, mic check. Okay. Just want to make sure because
it seemed like something
the
flicked.
the stream's like, oh, you need to reload your stuff because it's broken, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I keep
And then,
like if I look like my head keeps twitching to the left, it's because I keep trying to make sure that the connection is good. Because last Wednesday, this wasn't so stable at this time, so I'm worried about that occurring. So
gotcha. Okay.
So that's it's not like I'm not trying to look at the camera and in a sense pay attention to you, but I know I'm being cautious about like when is it gonna go down? But anyways, so yeah, your audio is coming through. Your audio was coming through fine a moment ago too. I think we only had that one hiccup when you I forgot what you ended up trying to do, but it's coming through Discord.
Logged in on my MacBook at the same exact time I was logged in on my.
Can't be in the same thing too many places. Of course not. Why would that let you?
One of the main reasons why, foremost, it looking at it, it's like it's not quite what I like. I like the design. I like what you threw in there, but I also didn't want to potentially have to sit down and explain. This is what it is. This is what we've got going on. This is sort of like what's what the deal is with this, and here's the reason why. I wanted something that working with the company that I'm currently with, it's skulls and pirates, and who the hell doesn't like skulls and pirates? Like, I'm just like, if you don't like it, then
I was gonna say I can be pretty much like scared of certain things. And it's like that's the problem with me working in a basement, because I end up like if I stay up too late and staring at these skulls on my screen for so long, and they've now imprinted in there, I see them in the dark. That will scare the crap out of me. So I'm just putting it out there. You stare at something long enough, it burns in the back of your head.
Absolutely. And I want to make a point too for other people that may be out there. Like if I've known of Nate. We've been acquaintances for many years. We met playing an online video game.
Yep, that maybe
and I literally stumbled across this.
Yep,
I literally stumbled across his stream, and I'm like, it just so happened to be right around the same exact time. I was like, okay, well, I'd like to get a logo, and don't. At the end of the day, the final approval for what you want, if you're reaching out to somebody, it goes through you.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a jerk about it. You don't need to be like, nope, try again. Even though now that I find out that you were going to try and be a smartass and say, well, this is all I've got for you. Like, I don't know what more you need from me. My initial reaction, the first one you showed me, would have been like, really? I just paid you for this? Are you kidding me? Like, that was gonna that's exactly what I was gonna do. So on the bright side, you and I were on the same exact wavelength of how each one of us was gonna mess with each other.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
But no, it boils down to, it doesn't matter if they're your friend or anything else like that. You don't need to be rude about, if you're paying for a service. I understand you're paying for a service and you expect everything to be done. However, I will say this much: make sure the person that you're dealing with, they have an implemented of saying, hey, look, this is what we're dealing with, this is what we've got going on, and here's your revisions, and here's this, that, and the other thing, and this is what we're going to end up with here in the long run. Here's the process of how long it's going to take. You want something quick, you jump on Fiverr and throw a couple images up, and somebody will just copy paste them together. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So to have to, and anybody that takes any bit of time, you've got to realize that look, you got to look at their background work. You got to look and see what they're capable of doing. And I mean, you got to know going into this, it's like, okay, I know what they're capable of doing, and this is what we're going to do. Now, I do have a question for you.
Oh boy.
Because this is sort of similar to what I actually just recently dealt with.
Okay.
Too long didn't read version of it is I called my insurance company because I needed to make some changes.
Okay. Yeah.
No big deal. my rate, I was anticipating a much, much lower rate than what they ended up giving me. And I called them. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
The lady I spoke with said, and I quote, "Oh, I seen that you had the state minimums and I increased them for you."
What?
What? Like, why would you do that? She goes, well, yeah, I mean, if you get to an accident, you cause bodily harm, and you only have so much money to pay for it off. I'm like, well, look, first off, I'm broke, so they're not going to get anything out of me. They can sue me all they want, but this is just how it's going to be. I said,
Yeah.
two, why would you change something that drastic? So my question to you is when you are sitting there creating something,
Yeah.
and you have things that go through, is it just your thought process at that point in time of like, hey, this is sort of thing, let me throw it in there?
Well, if that's the case, then it's almost like adding a personal creative flair to it, if you think about it too.
Okay.
Like how the I guess just by using this as an example is the iconic mark. That was all hand drawn. I didn't come into Illustrator with that. I had to I if anything it's like that has my own personality in it because it's every single brush stroke, but I just told Illustrator to make it as a silhouette of it. So it's like, yes, there are some times where you just put in a little bit of yourself because in the end when you think about it, when somebody is asking a service from you anyways, you really what should be straightforward and upfront is that they know that they're actually asking for a part of you in that too.
I
So
like that.
so in this case, yes, like yeah, you're always going to put something of yourself into these pieces even if you're doing it for someone else. Because in the end, that's what you want people to buy. You don't want them to come up and say like I need this exact same thing every single damn time unless you're because I guess like there's certain circumstances when it comes to like some designs when you say I'll draw this in my style, then obviously you're putting your own personality into it. And
Yep.
the same thing goes with when you make a logo for somebody is you took a look at some of the stuff I've done. You know how I talk about design during the stream.
Yeah.
So you know my process and you know that that's part of what you're buying, but at the same time it's like there is still my personal touch to how I approach it, how I see it. That is going to be part of it no matter what. And you can relate to that as an artist being a photographer. How you see something is going to be different than that other photographer. So when you are saying, I'll take your picture, you're also offering, like, I'm giving you the opportunity to see it from my point of view. See,
Mm-hmm.
see this part of me I'm presenting to you. so so really it is like you're always giving a piece of yourself in everything you make, even
I
if it's
like it.
not huge. It's sometimes it's just part of your person. They probably approached you in the wrong way because out there are so many different designers, different photographers, and if you don't take the opportunity to see what they do well, then yeah, you're not shopping around for what you want. Then you're just trying to shoehorn something in. Because like
Yeah, exactly.
that's something I've personally struggled with a lot of times, is that I've drawn things that I really hate because I don't like hyper realism. I don't like the amount of time it takes me to do it. I I I enjoy looking at them. I enjoy going around and praising people for the effort they did and the fact that like they took 40 plus hours to do that. That's amazing. That is something I can't see myself doing because I'd get bored out of my mind. Just making every single
Yep.
thing. And like personally, and that's also coming from me like 3D modeling, I always made textures for things. And a lot of times that was the extent of detail that I was really willing to do. And even then, it was still cartoonish. I
Yeah.
I wanted more whimsical to everything Because if I wanted that realism, I'd pull out my camera. I can make a texture just by going and finding the material, even lighting, snap the shot, and I'd be done with the texture if I really needed it that way. Heck, there's references online. You could buy packets of pictures like that if that's really all you're looking for is just those textures. But if you need something personal, that's what you come to the individuals for.
And I think that sort of correlates in the like how I treat my personal photography.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, majority of the dirt races I go to, it's nighttime, and majority of the photographers, actually, as weird as this is going to sound, last Thursday night was one of the very first times I went to a race, and a photographer there, out of the let's say out of the 4 or 5 that were 5 of us that were in the infield,
yeah,
quite literally only 2 of them had flashes. And to me, a flash it lights up the picture, but it puts the wrong kind of light. It portrays the wrong kind of light that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for
well,
you don't. I'm just not a fan of flash photography. I've never been a fan of that. It's you know.
Well, you have good reason to, because you know how flat it makes the picture.
Yeah, it
and
takes
that's
away
the problem.
Detail.
That's the problem with doing flash, is it steals so much from the character of the moment. And
exactly.
And it's like I don't like saying it, but that is kind of an amateur thing to do. That's why like flash works in certain cases, because if you have a sunlight behind you, you need that flash to make sure you can capture those people, because you need something to light up that moment, because you will get no detail on their face. So it's like there's definitely the moments that it's working, but from the pictures I've seen of yours during those same events, if they're there with through the fence when you take some of those pictures, just the character, the depth of the actual picture, flash just would steal so much of it from it. So it's I can understand, yes, in certain circumstances it looks really cool, because there's the other aspect is they could actually have settings, and this is why I'm only saying like I find it hard to say it's amateurish, because if you put on a flash, if you have it set up right, they could do something really dynamic where they have a certain portion fades away in pure black behind the car, behind like the portion of dirt. But if they don't know that going into it, they probably didn't set up their shot to properly take a picture like that. Because there's something like that isolationism that you can put into a picture with a flash in that moment is huge. But if they don't do it, then they're wasting the effort of that flash, because they're not trying to do something artistic or stylized with it. So yeah, it's like
and that was my number one thing. That's that's like the number one thing, and the reason why I picked up my camera and decided to go to the racetrack. It's like I'm tired of seeing. There's a local photographer here that I obviously won't name names for obvious reasons, but all of his pictures look the same. They're flat. There's no contrast. There's no color. They're all the same style of photograph. There's no action. Like you can't. I mean, you just simply cannot. I mean, bland. I mean, it is.
It looks like a family
grilled
picture.
Cheese sandwich. Well, it's like a grilled cheese sandwich, not grilled with 0 cheese.
Yeah.
It's a piece of freaking bread. There's just nothing to it.
But there's also something to this, because like even like we'll go back to and thinking about like again, that's their personal taste. That's their niche. That's what they do. They take pictures that they feel are like this, especially because you mentioned this gentleman's been doing it for years. This is how he sees the world. And when you think about it, I can almost argue a little bit to the point where it has more of a nostalgic kind of photography to it when you think about it too. Because that's the kind of picture your mother would take.
Yeah.
So it's like there's nothing wrong with it either. It's not always appealing to everyone. But there are
my mother, if she ever took a picture like that.
Well, yeah, that's yeah, if you're if you're really critical about your mother's picture taking, then obviously. But again, that has its own niche to it. But again, this is obviously somebody that's probably not really gotten out of their comfort zone of taking a picture either.
There's this thing in photography right now. Well, I shouldn't say right now, but back from the film age to the digital age, there were it's an old adage of, if you don't switch, you will become a dinosaur. You know, and so it honestly feels like, while I guess I can respect the fact that somebody likes that old school vibe to a picture, but the problem is it's there's no it's flat to the point to where you can tell there is no. I feel like they literally picked up the camera and left it on auto. They haven't touched any of the content. They haven't, it's, and at the end of the day, as a photographer, in my opinion, if you're out there to capture moments, capture, different things for different people, whether they buy it or not, whether they like it or not, whether, whatever the case it is, I just switching the color profile in the camera.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about. Like it's that little bit that I feel like that they can do, because every time I've ever been there and I've ever had a chance to, I don't want to sit there and say, take their thunder, for lack of a better term, but to whenever I put, whenever we put up my pictures compared to theirs, and once again, I'm not, jealous, or I'm not upset. I just wish that somebody in his position, would take the job a little bit more seriously and put it forth. Just even, like I said, just change the color profile in your camera. Get it out of whatever you currently have it in, and you would make, you would portray and showcase what I love, the sport that I love, the a little bit more so than what you actually do. And that's, I'm not saying that I'm trying to, at least I'm recognized, and hopefully, that'll inspire that person to be like, okay, well, let's take a look, see what are they doing differently, or, because
I'd even say it's like, it's also a possibility that they've probably never even bothered to take the opportunity to explore into those things. And like, that's what you're saying, is like, if they could at least just go and change their color profile, they'd have more vivid color, which makes a tremendous difference too. And I mean, like, that comes down to almost having that just personal talk with them and seeing what drives them, what kind of thing, like, what are they doing it for? Because I take it we're talking about still, like, the other photographers, the ones that you feel like are a little bit lackluster in these cases. One
specifically, and I'll be honest with you, I would be like, hey, look, like, what's going on? The only issue with that is the simple fact that especially at the local racetrack where I go to, they are 1,000%. They will throw you out of the infield. Like, you're not allowed in there. If they're in there, that's it. There's only room for them. That's it. The two photographers. Like, literally, during quite honestly, the biggest event of the entire year, they will not let anybody else onto the racetrack at all. It's and that to me is what, it's, maybe that's why I'm a little bit bitter towards them. They're like,
because I was kind of getting that aspect, is like, you seem kind of, because like they get these privileges, and you definitely feel like you can step up and do a better job.
Well, I mean, literally every single race. Last Thursday, I literally got a ride. Like, I literally jumped in the Polaris Ranger with one of the track officials. He's like, "Hey, where you go?" I was like, stuck my thumb out jokingly. I said, "You headed my way?" He goes, "Yeah, where are you headed?" So I'm headed to the infield. He goes, hop on in. I'll give you a ride. It's like, okay, cool.
Nice.
It's one of those things. It's just like, well, I mean, my goodness, like this isn't, rocket science here. It's, you know, it, you know, put forth the effort, put forth the care,
Yep.
And hopes that, and not even hopes. It's just like, do the job. That's your job. And it reverts back to me saying, like, I feel like they're just a dinosaur back when film was getting phased out and digital cameras were stepping in, and
Yeah.
I feel like they're so set in their ways they just won't change, and because they're not good of a position or something like that, and that is what it is.
Well, and that's very unfortunate, that because that's also part of part of growth is being willing to admit that you make a mistake, and then the secondly is willing to understand that life is about change. Really, in the case, things will change, and you either will, like, because like even for like design purposes, I can't tell you how many videos I went through and go, well, what's the modern look for things nowadays? And it's like I even went through that and considered a lot of them, but it's like, and I think that's where the influence of that second design really came from, is trying to get that more modern stage and look and symbolism and just iconic. And it's like I did try to do something with it, which again I was very happy that we ended up finding a means of using it still.
Yeah.
Especially like later, but you still end up like, if you want to further your own personal, artistic style, then you have to look at other people's work, because unless you're a caveman, you're not an original artist. I mean,
I agree.
It's like there's so many people that have already done it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel for yourself. So
Correct.
Somebody's already taken the opportunity and probably put something out there. And not only that, but if you look at other people's pictures and you start questioning how they do that, then that's a good form of, I'm open to the possibility of broadening my own artistic flavor in this case. So, and like in this case, if this gentleman is at that point where this is what he likes and this is what he does, it's unfortunate, but again, he does have enough people that give him that kind of authority to be in that position. So he's done something, and he's consistent, because that's also another thing that I could even argue is why he actually deserves it. He's consistent with what he creates.
Yeah.
People expect that from him. People see it and they like it. They know they do. It could be a possibility that they don't know what else is out there. And that's what you can offer in that sense. You have that opportunity to then show them, here's another side. Here's another perspective of the same situation. You can still appreciate his work, but take a look at this and you can see it from in a different light, literally.
Yeah.
This was like, because like that's what I'm saying. Like he's consistent. He's gotten to this point, and he knows his crowd. He knows his audience, because that's something we discussed earlier. This guy is somebody that knows his audience. He knows what they like. He produces it on a regular basis, and he's so therefore consistent with it. So, if anything, yes, you can be bitter, but take note of what it is that he's done right, and go, that's what you need to replicate then, to then produce and make your change to be the better photographer you want to be. So, like, yeah, it's like, I don't like giving the guy that much praise. A lot of people, when they get started, need to focus on your niche, focus on what you like and do well, and then be consistent with it. Be producing the same thing over and over again, so you can grab an audience that says, I love. So it's like
the thing that just
I can understand it, because like when you see somebody in a position, it's like, I really want to be it. Because I think, to be honest, there are times where I walk through conventions and I see other artist tables and I go, I can do that better. The problem is, it's all words at that moment until I actually start putting pen to paper. It's like, I can say that, but we have to then prove it, and this guy's taking the time to prove his position. So yeah, I can understand that frustration because like I want to be there right now. But that should be your fighting drive. That should be everyone's fighting drive. You find somebody else, it's like I can do a stage, I can do that, maybe even a little bit better. Maybe I can, add my own flair to it, your own personality to something. And that's a good start. It's just figuring out your own personality and how you can express it in something.
No,
So,
no, and definitely I agree 110%. It's just, going back to, being on, the creative side,
yeah.
you know, it the thing that's, that growing older has taught me is, you know,
Yeah, because
if I
we ain't no
approached
spring chickens.
yeah, because if I approached him and said, "Hey, I'm just curious as to why your photos are flat," he's because he's an older gentleman, yes, because he's been doing it for a longer time. I'd be almost willing to bet his first gut reaction is, "Listen here, you little young whippersnapper. I've been doing this since you were." And it's like at that point in time, like
Yeah,
I just
it's
offended the
somebody.
guy.
Yeah, he sounds like he would be a gentleman that probably take too much offense, despite trying to like. Because at the same time, it's like I don't think he's in the realm of sharing. Because it's like when you're in a position and you are the senior, I feel there's some obligation to at least be willing and open to have a conversation, discuss, because you have an opportunity to inspire somebody younger than you. Because like if he told you why he does what he does, how
I
much
would
more enlightened would you feel? It's like, oh, so this is like. But if he comes out attacking you, thinking that you're encroaching on him, then he's also had the wrong mentality of this all along. Because one,
correct.
you
Yeah,
don't look at other artists as competition. You do what you
no.
do, they do what you do, but it's not bad to collaborate, not to bad to talk to them and see why they do something. Why is this your thought process? Why is that your choices? And
Yeah,
like
it's
then you can understand
impossible
it from a
to.
different perspective in so many ways. And then gain
Yeah,
some appreciation for what they do. Because that's another thing he has an opportunity to do is that if he's willing to share that, you could probably gain a whole nother perspective and appreciation of why he does what he does. And then
yeah,
you wouldn't have that little bit of like irking, like I feel like this guy's just gonna attack me. I feel like he's yeah. Well, it's like, and that's a problem, because especially because like if he's not very inviting, then it's such a wasted opportunity to build another generation up.
yeah, and that's the moral of the whole thing is the point is you know if you think that that's going to be the vibe that you're going to get, that's somebody who you probably don't even necessarily want to waste your time with.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're going to get shot down before you even mutter the words hello,
Yep.
then you know don't don't be that person. And the moral of the story is if somebody comes up to you and asks you,
Well,
don't shoot them down. It takes a lot for somebody to walk up to you and say, hey, or, to ask you just, even if it's just a basic question, just
yeah.
be open, be inviting. It's at the end of the day, if you can, have one person take one little piece of advice from you, or, it's that old adage,
Well,
I'll say it. Don't be an asshole. Just be nice to people, and if
yeah.
you don't know the answer, if you don't want to answer the question, just you can be respectful and but I mean, and as being a creative or a photographer or any whatever you want to label yourself as, you can't be an asshole. Like, just
No.
I mean, it takes a lot. Like I said, it takes a lot for somebody to walk up to somebody to do anything. And hell, a compliment, everybody knows how good a compliment feels. Like
Yeah.
shit, like
Well.
that, even if you get them all the time, that's still, don't be grateful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Actually, that's probably one of the big things is be grateful that somebody wants your opinion too. At some cases, like that's if because like you said, it does take quite a bit of effort to feel comfortable approaching somebody, because a lot of times when people even approach you about something like this, they're really approaching it as like an aspect of like, I don't want you to crush my dream, I don't want you to hurt me, because this is something very personal. So when somebody is willing to open up and discuss and talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
that's a quite a big deal. So you treat that with care and a little bit of respect.
Exactly. Now, I
So
can tell you right now, me personally, out of all the photographers I've had a chance to run into,
yeah.
I mean, and literally all of them, I have never run into a single photographer that wasn't like, hey, this, that, anything. Even down in a couple months ago at a racetrack, there was a guy
Yeah.
that was kind of territorial, this, that, and the other thing. That's at least what I heard through the grapevine. Ended up being the guy was cool as shit. Like,
Right?
one of the one of the probably one of the most important things of going to if there's going to be a handful of photographers in the area is you don't want to step on anybody's toes. You want to be respectful. You want to make sure that the shot that you want they're not going to interfere with, and the shot that they want that you're not going to interfere with.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that everything's good, and introduce yourself, say hello, you know, be
Exactly.
don't
Well,
be a hermit.
I would even say that this is a good point too, because if you make friends not enemies, think about the opportunity, because if they get swamped with so many requests for their work, they might
Hmm.
think of you and go, "Let me pass on your name to this person. Maybe he'll have an opportunity to help you do this work, because I don't have time, and it's obviously you need this done now. So this is somebody I I know I know well enough that I could trust."
Yeah,
So like
it's
that's a big point too, to make to make friends not enemies, when
it's not
especially when you're
social
starting.
networking. It's actually in-person networking.
Yeah. And like I've said before, that's the only reason why people should go to college, is if you really just want to create a network.
Hmm.
You're really not getting too much else other than how to academically do stuff, but to be quite honest, everyone can pay for a $150 book and read it themselves and go through the notes, as well as even flip to the back page, and you can get the whole cheat sheet of all the answers.
Yep.
The only thing I feel teachers really ever bring to it is their perspective. So
Yeah.
you do gain something from it, but if you ever get a teacher that all they do is read this chapter, dictate everything from the book, that happens all too much. And that case, you are not getting your money's worth. That
Yeah. I
is
mean, teachers are.
that is something, and it's like, and it's not to say anything bad about teachers, because it's a really hard job anyways. It really is.
No, it really
But
is. And I mean, but I mean, especially if you can get a teacher. I mean, I guarantee you, you put anybody on the stream, they can remember their favorite teacher. Why were they
exactly.
their favorite teacher? Probably because of their personality. Probably because
Exactly.
of their style and how they engage with the class and each student
And
individually or as a whole.
mhm,
Those are the good ones. Those are the ones that are like,
that
okay,
inspire
yeah,
you. Like I could tell you
exactly.
right now, Mrs. Skirka from I was failing her class. I was failing her class. This was a literature class. I was doing horrible. I think I had a D by midterm.
You couldn't even spell D.
Thank you. This is high school, jerk. I'd hope that by then I at least knew half the alphabet. But
Just the back half, though, right?
yeah, just back half. It was only impressive if you said, ZY, you just did it backwards. It was not, it didn't matter if you did it for a minute. Everyone did it that way. Anyways. But Mrs. Skirka, she sat me down, she sat my mother down, and I felt incredibly embarrassed. But she offered an olive tree. She goes, "We can turn this around," and it's because I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she really thought she really thought I could do something. And the thing is that she actually challenged me, and I think that was probably one of the biggest things for me, is that I felt so bored in class, because really in the end I think I let my mind wander way too often during class, anyways, and it's like I just couldn't pay attention. But she set down a challenge. She said, if you, Nathan, if you can write something and submit it to this contest, I will bump your grade up by several levels. So what I ended up doing is that I ended up paying a little bit more attention in her class because one, it started mattering a bit more because I knew that what she was talking in class was molding parts of what I could use in this contest.
Mm-hmm.
And the point was also the contest was also piqued my interest because one of the things I really enjoyed as youth is poetry. So she is the first person that sat down and said, "I will give you something if you can assert yourself and put yourself out there by doing this." And I remember because like this is why I always think of her because of this fact that she inspired me to do something beyond what I normally would do. Instead of just being a lump there and just absorbing whatever I could, I actually was proactively trying to make a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because I really enjoyed poetry. I really enjoyed the structure of it. So I ended up making probably a dozen different poems, and I cropped it down to two of them. I submitted them to her for review, and it was great to get some feedback. But then I submitted it, and it felt really good when you get a letter back saying we're considering you for one of the top places in your section. And so it was like, and
Damn.
they sent it back and was like, is there any modification or anything you'd want to do to this? Because I actually submitted two poems, and the biggest problem was that one of the two poems I actually had to crop out a whole stanza to make it fit inside the word count.
Ah.
And it's like, because I took that one out, because actually that's the thing is like, I did felt that was the stronger of the two.
Mm-hmm.
That if I could have had that extra stanza in, it would have been perfect. It would have had everything. It would have had the structure just lay out just right. Because like, there was no stanza that could technically be taken out, but I had to fit inside the requirements. So, but the one I did modify the other one, which was more case like it was already within the guidelines. It flowed very well. I changed it. I did not make it, but I was still honorably mentioned, so it was still like top tier. I didn't make one of the three plays because they also did it by grade level. So like,
Oh, okay.
so so there's the top three from like seniors, juniors, and this was across Michigan. So this wasn't just like in my own little school. This was a poetry contest across Michigan. So
Well, I mean, to be fair,
I
though, I
felt
mean,
great.
part of Michigan's also the Yoopers, so I mean, that's really cutting it in half.
Ow. Ow. I mean, they probably only have like 2-3 schools that they had any submissions from because that's all they have is 2 or 3 schools, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I sadly the closest I get to the UP is Mackinac Island.
and unfortunately, the closest I get to the UP is like an hour and a half away.
So if anything, you're more relatable to a Youper than I am.
Pump your brakes, kid.
I have a whole few lakes that divide me between divide my access to them. Yeah.
Trying to break out the old hacksaw.
Well, that's what you get for living on the other side of the lake there in Wisconsin.
Yep, for now.
Yes. But again, a teacher has an opportunity to inspire you to do something great. So
exactly,
there is tremendous value. And that's right. So that's why anytime somebody comes to you with their dream or their idea, treat it with respect, because if that's how you wanted to be treated, don't treat the person like you may have been treated. If you were always shot down, because like I can relate to this, because again, it was one of those hard things that you work through, but in order to stop a cycle, it has to start with you. So if I didn't want to be treated that way, I'm not going to treat a person that comes up to me and asks the same thing or talks about the same thing. I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to say, like, give it a shot. Because, like, one of the biggest things you can have is regret not doing something. Because, like,
exactly,
if you don't even try, then you just get to sit with that what if.
It's kind of depressing when you sit there and think about how much money
That's
I've
not
actually spent on
necessarily
camera gear.
But again,
But
here's something. If it's something you love, then it doesn't matter.
no, you're correct. Like my gear's priceless to me. Like
There you go.
it's if it came down to food or my gear, I'm just not gonna eat. Like I'm good. I could stand to lose a couple pounds as it is. So it don't hurt me none.
Well, looking
But
around that equipment, that probably does help you lose a few pounds, right?
but if there's one thing that people can take away from that is I've been doing this now for a year, off and on, give or take.
Yeah.
Living up north in the wintertime, there's no racing going on. So it sucks. Like it sucks bad. And I didn't realize I wanted to do this till I got my first chance, my first shot,
Yeah.
meeting the group of people that I have, and now it's reignited a burner inside of me that I've never even felt before, and it's just like I don't even think twice about it. It's
Yeah.
truly the only part of it that sucked, like I said to you earlier before we started streaming, was last Thursday or last Friday morning.
Yeah.
Driving home 4.5 hours at 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing that I got to go to work in 4 hours. That was the worst
Yeah.
part about it.
Yes, I do agree. But again, we also discussed, like, if it's something you really love, you'll put in the time.
Yeah, exactly. The grind
So,
don't stop. I mean, it's
yeah, and
rather you're even if you're successful, the grind doesn't stop. I mean,
well, and that's because you get to the point where you love the grind. You love that particular grind, because then it doesn't feel like it's grinding. It feels like this is how I've wanted things. This is where it should be for me, because that's how you exist.
Yep. It's when it's a passion, it's a passion. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it boils down to. It's and you'll do anything to make sure that you can live that passion and enjoy the life that you want to potentially enjoy. And even if you don't make it to where it's, oh well, this is a career, you can at least go back on and be like, okay, I did a good thing. This is what I chased my dream. I don't regret it. You opened every door that opportunity came knocking on. And side note, really quick, and change gears. Kadala's a bitch.
Well, what?
Diablo 3.
I guess I still didn't catch that. What is a bee?
Kadala, the shard
Kadala.
vendor lady. You got to play Diablo at some point.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
Okay.
creative mind
Okay.
that's stuck in gear.
Well, yeah. It's just like who is this person you talk of? What is this related? I forgot. It's like, yeah, you played Diablo in the background. Gosh, which reminds me, I played Last Spell and I beat that game within, I think, 4 days. So,
gotta love it.
strategy games, eat them right up.
Gotta love those. I mean, at the end of the day, you and I both came to the agreement. I'll go ahead and say it. I'll call it what it is. Talking with you has sort of been like a therapy session, at least for me, and
I feel the same way.
It helps me get my creative juices flowing, going, and whatnot. So it's just like, well, why not? Like, why not me at some point in time? Why? There's no reason why I can't do this, or there's no reason why I shouldn't pursue this. You just got to go for it. And
yeah, it's a leap of faith too in many ways. It's just,
yeah.
And I think we hit on this, like, because, like, even like when I said close to the top of the time, like, I had doubt earlier today. and which is why I didn't hit the live button right away. But I still presented everything because like I had doubt because I allowed myself to prejudge what everyone else might think. And
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
and you can't do that.
I caved into that way too quickly, and because like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be prepared today, and I really just wanted one thing to alleviate that, and it's like I'm worried about that part too much, and that's hurt, and that I feel like that's hurting me. But to be honest, I'll have to say it kind of hurt me more to give in and not do it when I thought it would be great. I allowed myself to think the other way. But,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that every artist, every creative, any person that is trying to, like, you don't even have to think of this as a creative thing too, because like even if you're pursuing it in a career that you want in finances or anything, if you doubt yourself, then yeah, you can regret some of the choices you make because you gave in to certain fears at the moment. And that's, nobody wants to live with those. But
Yeah,
you
no.
are allowed to make mistakes so long as you learn from them.
Correct.
That's really the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, remember, just like I was telling you, 99.8% of the people that you actually run into in this world, you will never, ever, ever see that person again. You'll never hear from that person again.
Yeah.
You'll never, if, don't sit there and be like, oh, well, this, don't be afraid of, don't be afraid of shit. In other words, is basically what I'm getting down to is like,
be your authentic self.
Yeah.
You're not going to please everyone. There's no way in heck you're ever going to.
No, the Karens and Beckys exist along with Richards. Like they're there. There are people out there in this world that unfortunately you could literally hand them $1 million and the greatest product ever, and they're even like, yeah, that's not going to work. Like that sucks. And at that point in time, you just got to realize like that person's wrong.
And not everybody sees it from your point of view, because this is even going back to the photographer. He sees things a certain way. You see it another way. You can't change somebody's perspective if they're not willing to see it for themselves.
Correct.
So don't fight that battle. Pick your battles more wisely. Don't try to force yourself on somebody when it comes to that they really don't like that art. They don't like that style. They can.
It's be yourself. I mean, you've grown the confidence, you've gained the confidence to reach the point where you are right now.
Yeah.
You've obviously so at this point in time, even if it's this might come off as a little harsh, but I want to at least make it very known.
Mm-hmm.
If you, from outside sources, from rather not a friend or something else like that,
yes,
if they approach you and are like, wow, this is amazing, if you get that outside source of confidence, for lack of a better term, you're winning. You're there. You've already answered one of the very first questions of, can I?
Yeah.
And the answer at that point in time is, hell yes, you can. And you probably should.
Yeah, and gosh, what was I trying to think of? Brain fart. I guess I was almost kind of. I think I was almost changing the subject, but I was thinking about something in this case. It just kind of occurred as like a lot of times like I remember getting praised for certain things that I always thought it's like, nah, that's stupid, no, that's stupid, no, that's stupid. And it's like now that I'm looking back, and it's like, if I'd focused more on those aspects, I probably would have been a lot happier. and
exactly.
one of which is teaching, and And like that's, I don't know. I always had fun presenting stuff in the middle of class. I guess I like being a show off. Because it's also a funny thing about even when because like as I'm reflecting on my own personality here, I have the tendency I'm that Scorpio, and yes, I'm gonna put it this way because it's funny because I have one friend that keeps mentioning it's like you do this, and it's like they're very much about astrology, and it's like it's every Scorpio does this, but I say, well, actually, all too often because like I have like I don't know where I got this information. I just know this. But I feel the need to like well actually like cuz like I don't want you to be like going down the wrong path thinking that that's the end all be all. It's like but maybe you haven't heard about this. So I have the tendency to do that all too much.
And there's
So
nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you know,
well, but that's also part of like the reason why people praised me as like saying like you should be a teacher is because I was very critical about things. But if I say anything bad. But if I say something bad, I better be able to tell them why it's bad. Otherwise, my opinion means jack.
yeah,
Otherwise, to me, it means jack because then I'm just not liking it and I can't explain why. Which I could say express as like, it's not my cup of tea. I could be gentle and say it's like, it's just not something I like. But if I want to be able to help them, one of the big things was I have to be able to identify why. So when I pushed
correct.
myself on always seeing that, then I became more of this person that people came to at times during college and all this. Is like people come and was like, so what do you think of this? And then I would sit there and I would take a moment and I would be kind of harsh. But then like it's so many times like because I do remember this one teacher, I absolutely hate this gentleman. And but at the same time he was the one that he didn't teach, I ended up teaching the class. I really felt that way because every assignment when we were doing the in the class critique, he would turn to me and say, well, what do you think, Nathan? every
Give me your damn
single
paycheck.
every single time. Like he would say like, "Oh yeah, it's good. It's good. What do you think, Nathan?" And I'd sit there and it's like, "Am I the only one here that's willing to rip it apart? Is that why he's coming at me?" Because I even like during that same presentation like one time that I can distinctively remember because I know which picture because I did tear apart everyone else's and gave some really good information on how to think of it differently, how to see it differently. But when it came to my picture, I tore the crap out of it. I was worse about my critique than anyone else's because I knew what I did wrong. But I still allowed that to go through. And so many people said, I didn't even see what you're talking about, like until you mentioned it's like and it's like it's because I'm so critical about my own work. Because I constantly look at these design flaws and I go, I can see them, not everyone will. But to me, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And like that's part of also design. Like that's part of what happened to me slightly today is that I was overly critical about what I was doing. And I critiqued myself way too hard and I didn't stop myself before getting there. But I feel it's very good when I can do that for other people.
See, and I think that's one of the advantages of being a photographer is if you know if there are when the picture's done, like when after I click the shutter button, it's done, it's over with.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can, one of the few things that I can critique myself on is, damn, I should have framed it up a little bit here, or like last week I even caught it on video. I didn't post it into the video, but I put it, I caught it on video. I looked down at my camera and I'm like, fuck, there's a wall in the way.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that should not be in the image is literally in the image. Like what am I doing? And so, in that case, in that aspect, I think I have a little bit easier avenue, but where a lot of my critiquing comes from though is post. Like shit, I should have, if I would have been in this spot at this time, or I should have been over here, or because one of the very first things I do when I get to a racetrack is like, one, it's only happened one time
Look around.
where, I was not allowed in the infield, but majority of the time it's like, okay, where am I setting up? What are my conditions? Are we sunny? Are we cloudy? For sunny, we want to make sure that we get the car. But if we get the car, we want to make sure that, the sun doesn't hit it just so that
you don't want your angle to be off to where the sun is reflecting and right into your camera.
Correct. Yeah.
You're right.
We don't want to blow out anything. So it's one of those things where, you got to be like, okay, so those are the things that I, sort of critique myself on. It's like, shit, I should have been in this spot, or I should have been in this spot. And, damn, I wish I would have gotten this. And, at the end of the day, it's you.
Hi.
One thing I've learned
we
is
got a few people
never.
Talking. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I was so in tune with what he said, but yeah, Nicholas, and a hi. Well, actually, to answer the question real quick, what's being made here is actually, this is a logo for Jonathan here, who's joined me, and we were just discussing it, and then we've gone on tangents and talked about so many other things. So yeah, sorry, I was so in tune of facing forward, forgot my chat was off on the side here. But yes, and then hi villain, or fear, I forgot. Yeah, you like to go by fear instead of fear of. But yes, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, like I heard a chime go off and it's like, wait, there's somebody there's something going on beside me here. But yes.
Somebody's wasting their time? Excellent.
Yeah, sorry. I was so engrossed in with what you were saying too. It became such a. I apologize. I don't mean to ignore the chat. So I do have multi-stream on, so like I'm glad to see that from YouTube and from Twitch. So thank you. But yeah, this is a logo design. I guess did I already take you off track of what you were talking about? Do you think you pick up where you are?
What's funny?
What's that?
Is I'll come back to it, but the whole purpose of this is what's so fun about this already.
Yeah.
We said, hey, let's go ahead and discuss this and go over this, and it completely it fell off the rails. So let's get back to talking about this.
Yes, okay. In this case, yeah, as for like the design...
We put this bitch in a ditch. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, we definitely but again, like I did present this as just chatting, really, because that's really it is. We're talking, we're going over. In this case, yeah, we wanted to talk about the logo, but we're talking about life stuff here, and like things that help you, and things that have helped us. How about that?
Correct.
That's the biggest thing. Things that have helped us. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to everyone else, but if you think it might help, then hopefully it does. So yeah, just two creative people talking it out, getting all their thoughts out there. So I do apologize, Nicholas. I didn't mean to ignore you. I didn't mean to not notice. It's just we really were engrossed. So with that, where were we? This first design, and then
you had asked me. By the way, I'm going to make a note of this. Whenever we are talking, I just go through topics, and the last thing that we stop, that's where we'll pick right back up. Because clearly that's going to happen an awful lot. No, but it was you asked me what I thought of the first design, and I called you a jerk because that's the only thing that you showed me initially.
Well, see what I did, like, because I showed you the word mark. I know I did that purposely because one thing I knew that you and I were talking about is you wanted the custom topography. So I thought one thing is for sure, this is also one of the features that is in both of the logo designs, because I thought this was the closest to what we discussed out of like the 3 different font styles that we were looking at. Mm-hmm. And this would be custom for just you. This would this does not exist anywhere else except for on this page, and for your word mark. So that to me, it's why I presented it, is because I knew one thing was for sure. This is very important. At the same time, we already knew what we were getting into when we talked about these. So present it first. So yes, it was kind of a jerk move, because I personally, this is how I presented the screen to you. I presented it just with the word marks, just like this. Yeah. Couldn't say anything else. But if you saw the artboard, you knew that there was other things there, right?
Correct. Yeah,
you did see that. But I presented one shred of what the whole screen was gonna be, and then of course, I jumped over to this because you and I were both talking about the initials and how important they would be, and this, because beforehand, I was talking about how they should be balanced from the lower end of the E with the top part of the P. Doing this offset felt more balanced than what we originally were going over and discussing. So that's why I said I should just do the initials real quick as another word mark. And here it is, just as its own little lockup. And of course, this is not using the gold that we just came up with. Because that is...
Yeah, that's like you said,
200.
And I'll be honest with you, there's a good chance that shit's going to change the next time we meet. Like,
True.
True. How many different types of gold can you come up with, and how many different, it's all going to depend on what looks good, what I think looks good. And, I'm going to literally,
oh goodness,
throw it on 2, 3, or 4 different types of screens, just so that way I can see what it actually looks, whether a web page or, a watermark on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. Yes. I'm gonna, and that's not even on you. That is purely on me and how much I want to bash my head up against the wall when it comes to choosing a color, which I'm going to probably slam my head in a toilet seat for.
Well, but that's the thing, is it's pretty important to you because when you think about it, the particular kind of color that Coca-Cola is, it's a very recognizable color of red. When you see it, you think Coca-Cola. They have gone through such such a long time, such little detail of trying to make that particular red iconic in its own way too. So color does play a huge portion on presenting yourself. But this is where the whole aspect of a lot of times, because from your standpoint, and even from me when I was making my own logo, you have a lot of visions of grandeur. You first have to start somewhere, and then progressively change it over time. Because look at the Pepsi logo. We all know, if you're from the 90s, that was not the little swooshing that they have now. It was that was it. They didn't have this nifty iconic swoosh with their colors, which is now a symbol, an icon, compared to actually, because beforehand they had the word Pepsi dead center, and that's the progressive aspect of certain things. So, but they started somewhere, and a lot of times it comes over time. The evolution of something visually is that you grow, and therefore your icon, and that's pretty much what this is. This is a logo so we can get you started off the ground in a good position to progress forward. So yeah, and
absolutely,
that's why this E and the P was such a huge deal when we were talking, because if anything's going to identify you, it's definitely these 2 letters.
Yes.
And so having this word mark be like this, where it's just the initials, and having it balanced as they are right now, I feel like this gives you the best progression forward for now.
And I agree,
because this is actually also coming from even a smaller scale. When I draw something, I have to walk away from it. I can't stare at it anymore because I get that tunnel vision. By taking a moment, walking away, going to get myself my 5th cup of coffee for the day, walking down slowly as I sip it, and then sitting down and looking at it with a little bit fresh eyes and a little bit more coffee in my system, I see it a bit differently then. I've given myself a
Yep.
moment to just stop looking at it, to just stop thinking of it. And that's why, like, because like when we discussed it, it was originally they were side by side, and I was actually trying to match the top end of that E, the top curve of that P, so they'd be perfectly balanced between that. But that's not how it worked. It evolved to this. It changed.
Yep.
And then of course, and then I had that grunge stage of when and I came up with this. So no offense to the grunge scene, just it's not quite working for this one. So yeah, but that's also another aspect. It's like this way how it is, you and I both didn't quite like. And I didn't like it because it just didn't feel like it balanced well with everything. And like cuz when you look at this one, what's something you didn't like? Is it because it was so clean cut? Because I think that was one of our things that we were discussing is like we need a little bit more grit in this.
So
It needs to be
this
dirty.
was the very first thing I thought of when presented with that.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't mean any offense to it because we've already figured everything out. It's like, where's the skull?
Yeah.
Where's this it boiled down to like,
and to be quite honest, like I only put the E and the P in there because like, well, it's kind of what we need. We need at least the initials.
yeah. And so my initial thought was to put it bluntly and comically is, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
That's, like, what the fuck? Then when you explained to me what it was and
what it represented in this case,
yeah,
right,
yeah, and then I realized it's like, okay, this is why we sit down. This is why we go through. This is why we go through, different things here, there, whatever you want to call it. It's like, okay. And with that being said, I did, I loved the concept, the idea behind it, the thought process behind it, which ended up being, what we said, you gave me the backstory behind it exactly. And then I sort of, leapfrogged off of that. It's like, okay. So,
well, in this case, again, this was using pirate symbolism to represent something about photography, about art, and it's very weird. Yeah. So like this is I guess I'm trying to think of the proper way of expressionism. This was like I really can't. I like it's right there on the tip of my brain, and I can't. You want to know what I thought of it
as? To be honest, you know how NHL teams and have like a third alternate jersey or even like a third logo,
yeah,
or like an alternate secondary logo. That was the first thing I thought of. Literally, first thing I thought of. I'm like, okay, that's like throwback night stuff right there. Like, and I didn't like not like it. It's just like, okay, I like it. We just need a skull.
Well, and to be also honest, like these designs come from a little bit of also what you showed me of other photographers that you're talking about, because like that's where it's like I have to do something that's dramatically different than the other one, so we have two points to look at, and that way we can also figure out which direction best suits what we really are trying to make in the end. And I'm very happy that I did show you this, because we ended up with the next step, which as soon as I hit it, it's just going to reveal the exact end result of what we got.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like we can progress to that portion now, because like now we've gone to like you and I both, because like as soon as I put the topography with this with that second logo, I go, I don't like it. It was when it was standalone and didn't have any of the topography, I thought it was actually kind of nice. It was decent. But once the topography was, when I was trying to play with that and get it to work with it, and like this is even after like how many tweaks did I show you? I think I had like at least 5 different variations with different color
Yeah, there was a
schemes
lot.
and different, like, you know, like this. I was like really, really trying to make it work, and like, heck, I actually have them. That's right. They're in this file right here. What am I doing? Like, these are just some of the renditions, and not only that, but actually by showing you even this, we figured out another stage, another transition in my notes that I have that we're gonna work on doing. And like, so it's like, do I have the nice curved handle? Do I need flat edge handle? Do I need to make the heart taller? Do I need more of a gap between them? Do I need to make the blade looking longer? Because this is a heart and a dagger. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I'm getting to this like almost industrial kind of design because it's very clean cut, and it's almost like I was thinking it's more of like a modern day icon is what I was trying to go with some of it, but it's
Yeah.
like it's just gone too far. I swung too far one direction, and you obviously, like I said, I'm showing so many different variations, and this is only a small portion because this is after I pulled it in here, and I go, well, what is the best suited one? What is, and it's they're not even that much of a variation if you really look at them, but it's enough to where it's like you can see how I could have expanded this like 3-4 times more and changed
Mm-hmm.
how the angle of the blade was. I could have changed the whole perspective of it by making one side of the handle a little bit larger than the other. It's just there's so many things that could be done, and just right from here I was like, I'm not finding anything until I finally like hit this like, and this is at least skewed to the side so it has some dynamic touch to it. And I do recall you saying the one touch you like on it was the fact that there's that little line in front of the heart, so it's showing one
Yep.
side. It's presenting that perspective of the heart, so it's showing it's on its side and like it turned just a little bit. So that plays a big deal. So yeah, the symbolism and the metaphor in the other one was very strong. Because again, like I said, like I presented this because I looked at those particular two aspects as the heart and the dagger being life and death. And a lot of things is like, you're always on the edge of it, and you're capturing a moment of life before everything is gone. And even like a poetic sense of for like an artist, it's like, you live everything, and then there's death, and then even your stuff can still go on afterwards after you're gone. So there's that
Yep.
whole poetic aspect to it too. So it's like that had a lot of metaphor, a lot of symbolism, but it wasn't the style of which you and I were both really liking. So
Yeah. I definitely liked it, when I sat back. It's like, okay, so the like I know I've told you, and I'm constantly reminded by the YouTuber that I follow and how he preaches, the gift of photography. And when you break down the gift of photography, it's the moment has come and gone, and it's dead. It's done. But the picture that was captured will last a lifetime, will
yep.
continue on. And so that's sort of like the metaphor behind it. And that's why it's like, okay, I have to integrate this somehow, just for
Mm-hmm.
that simple fact. And I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you this on stream right now. The ending rendition of this logo
Mm-hmm.
will contain exactly what you came up with. Like, and what I mean by that is the rough draft of it mainly. But
It will be
I
it will be different, but it will still have the same flair as this first one.
correct.
That hand
And
drawn grittiness that kind of, it feels very pirate flag esque too. Like that, I think I remember saying like it's like they every single pirate flag looks like it's just somebody took a white marker to like cloth marker and just scribbled on it and made this big fat line that's very jagged. It's not clean. It's presented in such a way that it's like it's very handmade. So
yes, and I'm gonna sidetrack you here for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
You as the creator, this sort of double backs on what we were talking about earlier. What does that do to your psyche, knowing that the first design that you presented and you had a gut feeling going into it that it wouldn't fly, but to the point of like you created something, even if it's small, doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter the complexity or whatever the case may be. Like what does that do for you in your mind, knowing that I literally just said, no matter what, I definitely want to incorporate what you came up with into the design. In other words, I'm saying I like it. I just need a fucking skull, dude.
Yes. And not only that, but not the side skull, the face straight on.
Correct.
Which is what we'll present in the other one, but gosh, because like I
Yeah, you're on the spot now, son of a bitch.
well, I think in my mind it has a lot to do with the fact that one, the second one I presented, I'd already built up a lot of story and metaphor in my own head about it, and that's why I liked it. There was just certain parts of it that I couldn't quite sell in my mind enough.
Gotcha.
So that's where I think a lot of my self-doubt came in. It's like I like this one because of what it means.
Yeah.
But I don't like it because it doesn't fit what's trying to be made. So it's like I reluctantly went with it because I go, one thing is for sure, it's a different perspective on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I even thought in the back of my head, I do have the rough draft. And you know me, while we were going over this, I was drawing and revising and shifting and changing things based upon how we were both, talking about it, how we both felt on things. And we came up with something that was completely, in many ways, completely different.
Yeah.
But yet still took both logos and we made it into one better logo. Because
I agree.
We were able to take features and say like these represent this means this. And again, in the end, you really wanted a crest. That's why I think, one, I fell more in love with the idea of the first one. Because one, it's more of a crest. It definitely is. The other one is a progressive modern with a very nice backstory and metaphorical meaning to it. So that gave it a lot of its character. Not necessarily its design, it was the backstory. Because that's the one I could actually sell when it came to a point of why. Because it had more story in my head. I had developed more of a story for it.
Yeah.
The first one, I was like, yeah, it looks very good. It looks very pirate-esque. It's just I couldn't come up with a story for it as well as I could for the second. But at the same time, it's like when I look at the second one, it didn't fit. My heart's not 100% in it. And that's part of like, gosh, that's even like when I sold electronics to people. If I don't feel very passionate about it, I can't sell it to them.
Yeah.
So
you were one of those salesmen that the managers love. This piece of shit? You want this piece of shit? Nah, you don't want this one. You want this one.
yeah. So it's like, and not only that, but like I present them with the specs and the things that a lot of things that they wouldn't think of, because the point was I took the opportunity to focus on those and that information to help present to them as much information. That's why it was very much a struggle. Like the first one just felt right, but I couldn't explain why. The second one didn't feel right, but I explained why it fits.
Yep.
So yes, that's why I think you like the idea of the second one, is because I had more to say about it, and therefore, and that's also one of the big things about anything. Like if you can give it a story, and this is really why art is art.
Yeah.
Is if you can give art a story, it then gains so much more meaning for somebody. But the bigger point also is when you present something, it's not what you say the story is, it's what they feel they can say the story is.
Correct.
So, yes, I was able to sell that, and just I really said the metaphorical aspect, but even you came up with your own idea of what that meant.
Yeah, you
So,
know, and I'll, be very, I'll be very honest. If I felt like I couldn't there, you know, it and it wouldn't be of any offense to you.
yeah.
Do I like the design? Yes. Does it look fucking cool? Double yes. We're on the board with two yeses. The only thing that I wanted to do is I want a logo that reflects exactly what I envisioned, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
while the creator may not understand what type of drugs I may be on, or understand why, just know that a logo is, it's self identity, it's self worth, it's so many other things that are bundled into it.
Yeah.
But with that being said, definitely get somebody who's a fucking creative genius such as yourself
I'm
to where they can
I'm
add more stuff to it.
I'm just very anal about my design.
Yeah, but there's a difference between anal and care and passion.
Yeah.
That you literally, yeah, you could, that's selling a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. That's exactly what that is. And while I don't want that as just like my all be all logo design,
Yeah.
I definitely glad that we sat down and we figured out a way to incorporate that. And my family's from Jersey. Okay. So and I'm Italian, German, and Irish. So you're gonna get. I don't really give a fuck what your opinion is. That this is what I want, and this is exactly what I want, and that's how it's gonna be. So,
Which
trust me when I tell you,
it works.
yeah, which when I was saying, trust me when I tell you, if I don't like it, it's not because I think that you're a horrible artist. It's not because I think that, excuse me, and it's not because I think that you don't have the talent or whatever the case may, insert anything you want to hear. It's simply because this is something that's going to be a reflection of myself, and this is what I had envisioned,
Yeah.
and what we would advice that I may give going forward.
Mm-hmm.
When you present a design, I would probably come up with that, but preface it by saying, hey, this may not be anything that you like. However, there's a common theme. There's a,
Yeah.
you know, like, don't present it the way you presented it to me, in other words. Like, and I'm not saying the way you did it was wrong. I would be more, he's got some, okay, that makes sense. I like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that way my first gut initial reaction wasn't, where the fuck's my skull?
Yeah.
It's so, but I'm, going back to what we were saying, I absolutely love the rough draft of this, and when you sold me the story behind it,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been, I was, you obviously I was sold right then and there. It's like, okay, we could definitely incorporate this.
Yeah.
It's and I'm very, very grateful that you took the time and spent the time not only coming up with not only, going in depth and reviewing a story behind it, but also
Yeah.
like putting your own flair. Because if you type in if you Google Heart and Dagger,
Yeah.
nothing looks like anything that you came up with. Literally nothing. But yet it gets the point across, and you can definitely tell, and you can definitely see what we've got going on.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Like I really tried to not make it like anything else for you, because I know it's important to try to stand out. So you want something that's unique for you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like I it's not like I don't like it. I really do like it. It just, again, when I was thinking about it, it's like it doesn't fit this as it is in this state.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one. It's like, as you saw, it's like I really, really, really wanted to go through so many renditions of it, but I said I had to tell myself, just like, no, we gotta stop. We got it. We Because like the only thing I said is like, if there's anything that's gonna sell that, it's gonna be the story. It's gonna be the story of why those symbols are used, and that's why like I leaned on that more so in the case, because I thought,
Mm-hmm.
if you enjoyed those symbols, then we can see about, I can sit here and I can make more renditions if you just want this, or we can focus on this. And that was more of me saying, it's not giving up on it. It's like, no, I need to stop focusing on one over the other, and let's just figure out which one I need to focus on going forward. And so that's why I just stopped myself with some of the things, like, let's present why I think, I think it's a good symbols, but it's at the same time, it's like I was still thinking, it's like, it's nice, but it's not going to work like this. But so like, I'm glad that I did tell you about the story, because like if I had not presented it at all, then that whole design would have been just lost, and it wouldn't have had all the meaning that I tried to put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that would have been cheating myself, because like you took all the time to think about that too, why you felt like so strongly about those symbols. If you don't even at least say it, then you're just letting it die for no good reason.
Absolutely. And and I'll be the
So,
first one to tell you this as well. If you get somebody who doesn't take even 45 seconds, a minute to sit there and be like, at least have them process in
yeah.
their head. You know, there's a reason why. You reach out to somebody like yourself and get everything: heart, soul, passion, the whole 9 yards, even my brain. You're going to get it. Here it comes, whether you like it or not.
But that's what I'd expect. But yeah, I understand. There's gonna be people who's like, this is not what I asked for, and they won't have any constructive criticism to give. And it's like, all right, well then I have to go to the drawing board again to see what I missed.
Yeah.
And
Karen spray.
yeah, that's I expect that. I'm like, the one time that I know that my creativity, and I felt very upset by the rejection, and it had everything to do with, it was it dealt with cost. They loved everything I did, but they tried to get me to sell it for cheaper. And I go, I'm sorry, it's like, did I not specify, like I went over a lot of the things, how I came up with this, how I, felt like this really worked for you, and it just, like, the final design incorporated, I felt like, everything you wanted, and
Mm-hmm.
it gave it in the easiest way for me to make it for you. So it's like, one, I didn't feel like I was struggling to find something for you. I just, I knew it, I could see it, I made it, and you love it. And now you don't want to pay me what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it's like, that just irked me, because it's like we talked about cost up front. And that's one of the
Yeah.
things I know is like, you have to say something about that, so we understand, we're at the same page, that this is what you can afford, and it's like, this is how much I can do it for. And to be honest, like, this was actually for cupcake designs.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was going to make this woman's, she wanted cupcakes for her wedding cake. So, and she had a theme, and I thought, like, because this was very great, and it's like, she probably knows who she is if she's listening. But it really did irk me, because of all the effort I put into it. and then to be told that it's not worth what I'm saying it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but I'm also trying to present a cost so I can make money off of all of the materials I have to buy to make these cupcakes. So not only am I presenting design, I even said, I'll make you all the cupcakes you want for your guests. So it was a materials cost plus something for my time. And so it's like,
and at that point in time, if they don't like it, they can just kick rocks.
yeah, but again, I felt so cheated for all the effort and time I put into making that design and really, really hashing out and like saying, this is going to be a vanilla with this, with this buttercream. And then this one, the secondary one is going to be like a, I think I was going with, what's that? A chocolate version. I'm forgetting what it's called. Drawing a blank on it because I wanted more of a reddish tone to it, and I'm forgetting what the freaking cake is usually called because it's practically chocolate cake with just red dye in it. Why can't I remember?
Red velvet.
Red velvet. I was gonna do red velvet, chocolate cakes, and the thing is that her theme was World of Warcraft. She wanted Alliance cupcakes and she wanted Horde cupcakes. So what did I do? I presented to her that I'm going to make a sugar shield and a sugar weapon for each of them. So in this case, there was the shield for Horde and then Doomhammer that's going to be on it.
Of course,
because those are iconic. And then I was going to make some like shard, some shard sugar and dust it so it looked like it was a desert scene. Just something it wasn't too hard because I could make these shields. I could make the cutouts and I could do it all in fondant and make a nice little, and probably wrap it around some nice graham crackers. So it's a nice little cookie with a little, like something like that. And just give it a little bit of rigidness. And just like, I can make those shields real quick. And not only that, but fondant gives me 7 days. And cause like, this was the other kicker is that I need to think of, well, I can't let it spoil on me. So yeah, I was very proud of that, and it really hurt me. And like I guess I kind of felt like I may have gotten off on a tangent by talking about that particular one, but that's one of those times where it's like I did what I felt like everything was right, but then I got gypped at the end because I'm not worth it. So
yeah, exactly.
And not only that, but it just felt really, really, I felt really bad saying no to her when she came back and said on her wedding day that her other baker that she went with backed out on her. And she was asking me, and it's like, I can't do it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I can't. Well, she didn't even want my original design at that stage. She just wanted something that's like, I can't do it all by myself in 24 hours. It can't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like I don't have a professional kitchen. That's exactly. That was one of my biggest things. Like, I don't have a professional kitchen to where I can just like, let's crank it out. Let's do this. It's like, no, so I did feel bad saying no, but at the same time, you also have to keep in mind when you do get presented with jobs and everything is keep in mind your own limitations. What can you do at the time? And very, very adamantly be polite, but do, be honest with yourself in that case.
See, and I think that's one of the downfalls of us being millennials is we go out of our fucking way. Even though it's an inconvenience on us, we try to not inconvenience them more so. We actually apologize for for not being able to produce or come up with a timeline, and you feel bad saying I don't like this, or this just doesn't fly or jive with whatever the case. I think that's one of our biggest downfalls, and I was presented with that like on Thursday because I said, hey, I'll definitely be there Thursday. I might be there on Saturday as well. Well, one of the guys, his dad, he's like, oh, well, we'll see you Saturday, right? I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, as it stands right now, very slim chance of that. I don't see that happening. I think I got everything that I needed to here. And, it's not that I don't want to. It's a simple fact of, it's 4.5 hours here. It's 4.5 hours home. I'm not spending the night. I don't, I don't have, the ability to shack up in a hotel. I mean, for one, it's one of the biggest races that they hold. So hotels are already very, very sparse. So it's just like, you feel bad telling somebody, giving them the opposite of what they want to hear. And I think that's probably one of our biggest downfalls as, being born into the generation that we were. It's like, you don't want to disappoint people.
Exactly.
On the flip side of that, I have to disappoint you, and now I'm going to feel like shit for disappointing you.
Yeah, and that's part of, I guess, what is it? Growing up as an artist is that you learn your limitations and you understand that you can't be everywhere at once. You can't do all of it. You have to be realistic with your with what you have, because I thought like that. It's like the time period that I was given as a second opportunity to make the cupcakes, I was working for most of that 24 hours. I have my job that I have now that I go to as a day job. I was like, I can't do that and that. I can't do both of them. And I don't want to call off work because her and I had not even discussed, like, are you still going to pay me the same amount for simpler cupcakes because now I'm doing it last minute for you, or what? Like, it's like I didn't even want to discuss the money because, like, I just knew time wise it was going to bend me over backwards to try to do it. So
yeah.
And again, it's like it. And yeah, it's you're allowed to feel bad for it, but don't let it take you down. You can feel bad for saying no and go, I wish I could. I really do. But you also have to remember to take care of yourself and not kill yourself over certain things.
Correct. And at the end of the day, it boils down to it's a quality of work issue. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I can do something if it's not going to be like of good quality. Like it's, that's just like we have to draw the line in our head. Like, okay,
yeah.
Like I need time to do,
And to be honest, like I had already had the experience of doing a wedding cake within 24 hours. And when I was presented with doing cupcakes in 24 hours, I was like, no, I don't think I could do it. And like, I have even less time that I had to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like I barely could do that. Do a full wedding cake, a full 3-tier wedding cake within 24 hours. To present and do, I believe it was at least 100 cupcakes within half of that time, because like I said, I was working and some of it I do want to sleep. It was just it was not realistic. And that's part of it, is like, just you got to be realistic.
Yeah, exactly. You can't set forth like, because I mean, if somebody knows that you're capable of doing the work, I don't think a lot of people realize like the time that is actually put into something like that. It's this doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. Like it's going to take some time.
And that same thing, goes. Well, I'd almost have to say, like, sometimes even for your photography, it happens pretty darn quick. But most of the time, it's the...
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's one of those things, like...
It's one of those mediums that works that way. Because you can get pretty quickly a result, but you've also taken a tremendous amount of time to be prepared to take it in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's all the prep time to get it right on within these first few shots, and then having everything set just right, and having everything kind of fall in place because you pre-planned it well enough to do so.
Yep.
So yours is heavy on the pre setup, and to get the result that you're aiming for. And then you do some with post production, but hopefully as little as possible, because it's a heck of a lot easier when you can use a very high end tool to do a lot of the heavy lifting, so you can present and have very little work in the next step.
The only time I really like hammer post production is when there's a picture or a shot that I really, really like. I know it's in focus and it might be a bit underexposed or a bit overexposed. Then that's where my creative candy really starts flowing hard, because it's like, okay, you know, this is a great shot. This is something that definitely needs to be, you know, we need this. Like I definitely need to make sure that this happens.
All right. So shall we move on to what we ended up discussing and hashing out after it? Pretty much after seeing both of these, it came down to just start. We started with this like first symbol and started hacking away at it, and then I presented you with the second images as the rough draft, the very last rough draft that I made of what I felt like was like, okay, this is the jumping off point to make the clean, Illustrator version. But we ended up going with that hand drawn version that I was able to pull into Illustrator. And on top of that, I still I guess it's just me kind of going, yeah, I did that. I was drawing a skull while we were discussing things, because you wanted a straight on and you presented me with a reference picture, and I go, okay, I'll make that. And we were talking and I made it, and we have definitely a good start on the secondary skulls. So with that preempting it, as I click onto this next one, here we are with all of the work to change and incorporate some of all of the designs from both, really.
Correct.
So instead of a circle, the coin-like shape, there's now a crest. So we have a shield. And then on top of that, we're using the heart and dagger on both sides. And then we have the EP in that iconic kind of balanced form where it's the bottom half of the E and the top half of the P balancing each other out. And then with that quick render of a skull from the reference that you gave me, to get an idea, get a feel of size and shape, so you could have that lovely skull that you want so much.
It's right not necessarily a want, it's a need.
Oh, it's a need. Okay, that you need
it really is.
So much. and this is how I'd present it. There'd be a color version, a black and white, and then a reverse black and white. So this way it can be presented and used on any surface that you need. So, and it'll still stand out amongst it. And what is it? As this poor symbol got torn apart, you can see all the pieces. Like there's like one of the compasses. Then we got another one here that's gold and tilted about 37 degrees. There's the skull sitting by itself, and the E. And this is also another thing, like there is a different EP used than what we ended up using here that has more of the holes and everything. And so, what is it? This one up here is me trying to use the cutlasses again.
So,
which isn't bad, but it's
as weird as this might sound.
Yeah, now that we've taken away and started looking at these again.
Yeah.
Right? Fresh eyes on this? Yes.
Yep. So the compass.
Yeah.
Old Skullboy's got a big fucking forehead.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Put the damn thing on his forehead.
Arrangement, bring to front. Scale it. Not that big, my goodness. Wrong direction. Let's go with the
Oh, and I did have a question when you said you tilted it at 37 degrees. Do you know if that's actually tilted at 37 degrees, or did you just fucking grab it and skew it?
I rotated it 37 degrees, as a matter of fact. I hit.
So it is a matter of fact.
29%. I changed it. That's right. It was 37, then I changed it to 29%. Dang it.
Okay. So
that's right.
I'm probably.
That doesn't. Would you prefer the? Because we can rotate it back. Obviously, we can just zero that out.
Well, what I was thinking is, I should think of something.
Wait a second. Did
I? Something like some sort of like heading, or some sort of direction or angle, or like something meaningful, so that way in case somebody actually asks, like, well, why is the compass this way? Like, well, it's
why is it?
In other words, it's an Easter egg that I'm trying to throw in for myself.
Okay. So
is that dumb?
No, not at all. I don't think it is at all.
Okay.
Now again, it's like it's a talking point.
Yeah.
That's really it's what you're asking for is another talking point. Because you're putting it smack dab in the middle when it sits here.
Mm-hmm.
So it has some significance just based upon that. Yeah, looks a bit better. So given that aspect, then yeah, if there's a certain degree, like, gosh, because we have 360 degrees.
Yep.
And we know that if I flip it 180, it doesn't change that much. So I'd almost say it's something between 0 and 180, or 180 and 360 is the degree of which you're trying to look for.
Yeah.
But not 180 or 360 itself.
Can you do it 360 for me?
What? For a second there, you actually something was like, wait, what?
That felt really good. Like,
it's too late for that. It's too late for that. Why are you doing that to me?
Exactly. That's exactly why I did it. Because it's like I bet, because of the way your mind thinks, it's like, I bet I can get him. I know I can get him right here.
Because I literally looked at this like, wait, that's 0 and 360 are the same. Like, why is he asking me to just spin the dang thing? Why am I spinning this?
Dance, puppet, dance.
We look at there. I spun it for you. It's now 360 instead of 0. Oh, it flipped 0. Really?
Let me.
It's 359. Boom. It's now saved at that rotation. That's what it is.
I'm going to take a look here. So, well done, sir. I have an idea. Yes.
Something. Okay.
Yep. I know exactly what I'm going to pick as soon as I get to it. So give me a hot minute. No, Google Maps. Stop with your 3D orientation bullshit. Nobody likes you. Just give me maps.
We do. If you ever want to make landscape pictures, it's one of the best ways. You can travel the world and go see.
Shit, there's an application called Photo Pills to where you can set up putting objects in the foreground of like a moon rising or something like that.
Yeah, that's one way. But when I'm speaking from the point of view of an artist, if you're trying to make something in perspective, just go find it in Google Earth.
Well, yeah.
Go to New York City, and if you're looking for skyscrapers, they have the 3D models there. You can get a nice perspective between the buildings, and then just draw over it. It can be your outline.
Oh, you're gonna love this here in just a moment. No, it's not fucking bad. It's actually
what is it?
Awesome.
Is it 69 or something?
No, it's nothing.
Nothing like
it's
that.
Nothing. Yep, nothing like that at all.
Okay.
But okay, you have Google open, right?
Or yeah, my second screen. I can. It's open right now.
So I'm gonna drop this in. Type that into Google. Don't say anything. Just type that into Google.
All right. So over to Discord, and then.
Yep.
Oh wow, you're giving me coordinates.
Correct.
Wow, these are very precise coordinates.
These are dead on to the umpteenth second.
Okay, Google, give it to me. Am I supposed to be in Google Earth though instead?
Nope. Just zoom all the way in, and you'll see exactly where I dropped that pin at.
Oh boy. I'm zooming in. Mm-hmm.
I think that's fucking creative as shit.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. But I guess the question is, how do you make that into one number? Because that's degrees north and then degrees west.
Correct. So
would it be the sum of both of them then?
I was thinking minus, and that would be 53.
Actually, didn't you present me that the 81 degrees was the negative?
Correct, but I mean,
if you do if you do it in order, if you do that one minus this, which is negative, you'd still get another number. Which number would that be? Because I guess it's also trying to think of how literal do you want to take these numbers, and it's if you want to plus or minus them. So we're
here. This is where the creative geniuses are flying right now. Both of us are thinking how to do this.
So you said 53, right?
I said 53, so that would be the numbers minus off of each other, obviously not looking at the negative degree coordinate of the first one.
Mm-hmm. Well, but that's the thing is like if you take this one minus that one and it's still a negative, it just becomes a positive 53.
Well, yeah.
Whereas for if you take 28
actually
minus 81,
it would be a negative 53.
Well, that's if you took 28 just minus 81 without implying it's negative, that it's negative 81 degrees west.
But 28 minus negative 81 actually equals according to the Google calculator here, 109.
That's adding them both together because I guess minus with a negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes plus. So I'm
Yep.
thinking the opposite. It doesn't make it just positive, but it also moves in the different direction. Okay.
Correct. So that's why I was thinking it's rather ignore the negative and just roll with 53, or it'd be 109. Either way, I'm thinking 53 just to make things simple. Because, I mean, actually, yeah, 53.
53.
Oh, I'm curious about that, though. Hang on. Hold on. Oh, I could. You're really going to shit your pants if I tell you this in just a second.
Oh,
So, I was curious, and one time I
yeah.
took some sort of like navigation, like compass reading, shit like that. So
Okay. Yeah.
bear with me. I'm double checking the maths as we speak.
It's best to have it right, yes, because we don't want
Mm-hmm.
to. We don't want to have be half butt this all the time. We want to make sure it's right.
Damn right.
And that's why I said it can't be 360 and it can't be 180 because it's way too perfect. And if it can be several degrees off of that, you can at least see the curve or its rotation.
Yeah. We're getting there. Give me a second. I'm almost there.
Almost there?
Yep, I almost have it all plotted and figured out here.
And I guess we could just tell people because obviously they can't. I'm not showing them I'm not showing them Google. But this is what he presented me was the coordinates to Pirates of Caribbean on Adventureland Road inside of
And the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney
Magic
World, Florida.
Kingdom in Walt Disney. Yeah. But yeah, right outside. Yeah.
When we were coming up with idea boards, that was one of the things that I said. I'm a Disney fan, like true and through and through. I'm a Disney fan, 110%. Like this is exactly.
Yeah.
And
I
so
am too. I watched Soul today and I cried again.
I thought Soul could have been better. Have you watched Raya yet?
I watched Rhea. I'll be honest. It wasn't grand, and because it felt a lot of the story was rushed. It felt like it was presented in just like streamline. This is what it is. Boom, 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 boom. We hit every mark. We're done. And it just like that felt very mechanical. I felt kind of violated because it had such potential to be a really good story. Because Rhea was a really good character. She's flawed and like everything. And then we have our dragon, which is such a bright character. And it just they had such well developed characters. And it just felt rushed the whole dang time. And it's because it's like it felt like here's an origin story inside of another story.
Yeah.
Instead of because they had to like, well, let me take you back to beginning and let's take the first third of the movie to just explain this whole thing and how the world is. And it's like, why can't you explain that along the way?
Exactly.
It's not a necessity, but the bigger point is because of her reasoning of why she's adventuring. That's presented the need to see everything, but it's like, then what happened to flashbacks? What happened to having those warm moments to go to look back on? And it's like I understand that probably the director is looking at it and trying to go, well, this is a nice way to present this story. And it's like, yeah, and that's the part of the creative process is figuring out how best to do it. It's just it felt kind of lumped together. It didn't feel like I was really enjoying adventure. I was just being told something.
Yep.
Not so it's it fell off its own rhythm so far or so soon that it was like, it's nice. It's just not great. It's nice. Wow, it sounds like you're processing something heavily. Like you've just put it into a supercomputer and you're really just trying to have it crunch the numbers.
Pretty much.
Oh, you really are doing that.
Yeah, I'm figuring. I'll explain it to you when I have it all sorted and figured. Let's see here. No, don't slow down yet.
Haha.
Now
Haha.
we're fucking getting somewhere now. Let me tell you.
We're finally cooking with pro paint.
You got her.
I wait with bated anticipation. Is that more smoldering anticipation? Because I can't. I think the look that I was giving was not the appropriate one.
Luckily for you, I can't see shit right now.
Oh, you can't see my lovely face? My lovely
No,
ginger face?
you never look in the eyes.
What, because you're afraid that that's where your soul is?
Exactly. All right. So,
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
197. The reason why for 197, 197 degrees, for lack of a better term,
Mm-hmm.
is though that is the azimuth heading from where I currently live to where I want to go.
That I can see why it took a while, because you really had to map the angle, is what you're saying.
Yes, correct. Sorry.
No, it's because it has significant meaning. It's your progression forward.
Yep,
That's
and that's
and that's the case too. This compass, I should really make sure that there's the N in it, so you know which way is north.
yes.
So it's not
I was hoping
presented
that you
like
could
it's
add that
just,
in there.
yeah. Because now that you have a particular degree that you want, I'll have to add in the N. It might be. I thought I was writing notes on the top of that. No.
Now the question is do we want to go with Mariner or Cardinal direction? No.
Well, that's on you, buddy, because
Exactly.
that might be information that they're gonna need to critically know to backtrack and make sure you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You might run into that one person who goes like, "That doesn't seem right. Which one are you using?"
You just don't know shit. Ooh, button. Go back. There we go.
All right, so there's that note. which is significant because then this is taking up a lot of the negative space and using it for something.
That's
Now
what
again,
one thing I noticed too.
that again, because this is us coming back to one of the things that we were discussing is it too crowded now? Is it too much?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's integrating. I mean, I definitely don't get me wrong. I definitely understand.
You put
You
too
know,
many things in, and it just becomes busy, and nobody understands. Because again,
correct.
that's going back and me discussing about that second design. It's very simplistic, and it's an icon. It symbolizes something, and it's supposed to speak more in that sense than presenting everything to what is being said.
Correct. No, and I definitely agree. It's you know it you we I think okay. I don't think it would be. I don't think it's too much because it encompass or no pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Oh dear Lord, what is happening? That ain't right. Use a damn lie. I don't want to go to
Because
that.
I mean, if I do this, if you think about it, one, the compass has the most emphasis and meaning, and then the skull. Can I put these in? Not at that current size.
Yeah.
Because like these are nice, but it doesn't necessarily have that much significance in comparison to use of the skull and the compass. So this is me trying to simplify the icon.
Yeah. Can you just as a test to see if it doesn't necessarily create too much, that outer ring,
Mm-hmm.
is that something that you can remove?
You mean that?
No, of the compass.
Oh yeah, because it's a separate object.
Because zoomed in, you're not going to see that detail anyway.
So yes, with the ring outside,
Yeah.
it does kind of lose some setting that it's a compass, but I think if the N was in there, it'd pull it right back in, so it should still work.
Yeah, and then you can, because then I can keep all the daggers and the initials all together in there as well. Because then it still has meaning behind it.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, the compass is the one thing that has significant meaning for you, though. And putting in
Correct.
too many symbols of trying to get in so many things to say can muddle what you really are one clear cut thing that you want to say. Because part of anything is like you want to simplify it so people can see it and identify it. We're not trying to tell them everything.
Yeah.
We want to identify. And this has enough identity right in it without being too much. Because I can understand these things. I see them, but at some point we do add in too much. and then we do lose something from it, because again, that's one aspect we want to keep in mind, is that we don't want to lose anything we can. And as such, it really does feel like the compass has more meaning than the dagger does. Move you downward. Because I could do... Actually, if you want to balance it out again. Because there is this. We still use the EP. The skulls in it. And then the compass, which has the most symbolistic or symbolism in it. To be your... I want to make sure that's...
Throw the daggers on either side real quick.
Yeah, that's also the same color. Things go down significantly. Can we cradle it in there? That'd probably be the best balance. Oh, if that's the case too, let's just go copy paste. So there's that.
Yeah. Maybe cock them a little bit. Bring the bottom tip of the left one in towards the center, and then the bottom tip of the right one towards the center.
You go the other way.
I can't tell if it's the stream lagging or if it's the computer. I like that.
Presenting too many things, though.
Zoom out. Shit, I can't see it. I'm delayed though.
Yeah, it's delayed. Yeah, it takes a minute.
Yeah.
And then now I have it a bit more centered.
As weird as this sounds, when you first designed this was actually my thought process behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Was dropping that P right in the center. So this the only reason why I said the compass, why I felt like we could incorporate the compass into it is for the simple fact of, that was, in my opinion, open real estate to utilize and use.
Well, that's also in the current state of the drawing of the skull too.
Yeah, that's true.
But I also don't see myself adding much more to that space. But if anything, it's like there's probably going to be me pulling more back from where underneath the cheekbones and inside the mouth, but leaving that more so for like the black outline with the white backing on this last one, because that one needs it, because it needs that fill in to make it look a particular way, whereas for these other two, the gold and the white outline black backing, needs less fills.
Well, how about this? I will leave you with this. Personally, I like the one on the left. And I also like the one that we came up with earlier. I
Mm-hmm.
really do like both because they, in my opinion, it, the one that we created together, that one sort of more flows. The lines are sort of, it's sort of like it fits a little bit better.
Yeah.
The one on the left was the one that I was sort of envisioning when we did everything. Is, I'll leave it to you if you think that you can, finagle a little bit, and by all means, if if come, you know Saturday afternoon, or you know Sunday afternoon, you're like, hey, you bored, you busy, you want to hop on real quick, I'll be more than happy to hop on
Mm-hmm.
and take a look, and we can by all means we can bounce things off of there. And hell, I'd be down for another little live stream as well. I don't have a problem with that at all if that's what you'd be down for. So it's I'll definitely leave it in your hands to see what you think. But
Okay.
I
Well, there's also
from
an
what.
aspect of if we, because like to be honest, like we've been at looking at these probably for a lot longer than
Hmm.
either of us intended.
Yeah.
And I'd even say like there's something to the point where it's like I'm gonna keep the black and white version right beside it and keep this one in this particular save file. So it's like when I come back to it, like tomorrow or the next day, I'll look at this and then I'll see about playing with balance on it. And like that's
I'm
that's part of like this, like because now this is the final form, and now it's trying to play with these symbols, and can I incorporate them? And if I can't, do I know why?
Yeah, I'm down, thousand
So
percent.
because that's really what it comes down to is like I don't like taking something away unless I understand why. It's like the same thing when I was talking about how I like to critique. It's like I only like to critique harsh if I can actually give critic, like an actual informative means of how to take it to another level or change it so it's not presented that way or it says something else.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's pretty much what it'll end up being. It's like, why do I don't like that? Why is it like this? Or I do really like this and I really want to keep it in, but why is it not fit like I think it should? I'll
Yeah.
have to I'll have to figure those out as more of an aspect of just to understand, like, because I know what you want. Now it's
Hmm.
a matter of like, can I get it to exist, and does it not scream? Because like the one of the things I do want to try to avoid for you is giving too much in this case. And this, like, we're giving too much information at times if we put too many symbols in,
Yeah.
and then it gets cluttered, and then the message is lost. And a lot of times, like, there's not a big clear message. It's enough to identify and start the conversation is really what we want.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm saying, like, the daggers are very nice. I like the idea. It's symbolism that really, coexist. But do we really need two? Is now my question. It's like, because like if I'm gonna present this idea to you now, actually I'll keep that one in because I'll keep from shifting too much on the other. I know we have the real estate here for the compass, but what keeps us from counterbalancing life and death in the right direction on its opposite side in such a way? So there's two icons, so we're not doubling up on the life and death dagger,
Okay.
but now we have two things: life and death, and the direction of which your life is taken, and they're balancing on either side of the skull. So something like that to me has more significance because one we're not doubling up on one message, but we're trying to present two different. But there's something, there's obviously, a balance between the two, so they're on either side of the skull.
Yeah. I
So
see
that
now that
that's that presents to, in my mind, something more without overdoing it too much.
I
And
dig it.
just a small change like that is significant enough to go, now we don't have as many symbols being presented. We have two clear symbols, both have their own representation, but they're also trying to balance one another, and that's kind of what a lot of this is, in a sense too, is we want to balance everything.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, and I think so. From where we stand right this moment, I think those three symbols and the initials.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I will obviously.
Now I just have to tweak the sizes so it fits perfectly and make that shield a little bit grittier.
Yeah.
And maybe, because that's also another thing, is like maybe I'll try to change the shield so it fits all of these a little bit more, because that's still something to work on.
Yeah, and I was going to suggest something like that too. It's like, well, like you even said, here, you want a crest? You got a crest. And you you slapped it together in fucking 15 seconds. So that's something else that you can also obviously, play around with, and, dimensions and diameters. And I mean,
well, and that's why, like, I drew out that skull real quick. I drew out this crest. I did those things so we could obviously be presented with the possibility of discussing these things. Because again, you gave me a reference skull to draw off from, so I used it and I drew that real quick. And that was because, like, you wanted straight on, you didn't want the side, so we got a straight on one. At the same time, it's like there's also something about, like, does a skull have to be that tall? Could I squish it a little bit and still get, some of this, this feel for it? At the same time, should it be a little bit wider? Because, like, at the same, those are little aspects that I'm going to be playing with, because I'm going to be tweaking sizes between a lot of these things, because now it's a matter of trying to find the proper balance for all of them. And that dagger might actually become longer just to fit a little bit better. But it's also because, like, this is another thing we didn't mention, is like I'm going to incorporate the 3-prong design of this.
Oh yeah, right.
So, like, this is another aspect of that dagger is not going to be this one. It's going to be drawn similar to this.
Yep.
Definitely a little bit more clean, but at the same time still hand drawn and sharp and gritty. But it'll have 3 points instead of just the one. So that's a big difference, a big change that's going to happen too for that heart and dagger.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest downfalls, I'll tell you that right now, is looking at it right here. I'm sitting here thinking off the top of my head, and thank God you're here to remind me of, hey, moron, nothing's final. I literally slapped together 2 fucking things in a matter of 45 seconds. Give me some time. That's what you need to tell me.
Well, and again, it's like I wasn't saying it that crudely, but yeah, I wouldn't
have
call
a little
you moron.
faith, John.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, this is, and like I said, that skull needs some changes. I feel like I'm on the best path with that one, but again, it's not a finished one.
It's that scene from Tropic Thunder where Les Grossman says, shut the fuck up and let me do my job. That's what you need to tell me.
Well, if anything, I probably should get some sleep. That's what I'm starting to look at the time at now.
Yeah, I agree. That's the problem. There's going to be the streams with you and I, because we get off track.
We could be here for a long.
Yeah, so we'll definitely save anything, and I'll tell you anything that you can think of, write it down, like, instantly.
Well, yeah, because, like, I don't want to lose an explanation, but I don't want to lose why I feel like certain things. Like I was saying, like, that's why I presented the idea of a heart and dagger and a compass on the other side, because it's a matter of 2 symbols that have significance and they present themselves. Because, like, I can immediately be like, when I was looking at the other ways, like, questioning, well, why is there a second heart and dagger? Why is there 2? Why is that does that have some significance? And my mind is like, no, really doesn't.
Yeah, it
So,
almost looks like it almost like it's I'm sure there's a word for this. Almost like a cheating system to balance everything out, kind of a thing.
mm-hmm.
And that's where my mindset went into. That's why I was like, well, fuck, just throw another one up there. Fuck it. But it was definitely good chit chatting with you. And by all means, if
I appreciate you coming on and we doing the live chat after all.
absolutely, and I think if we Friday night I'm free, and Thursday night I'm free. So Saturday night's the only night essentially, unless it rains or something. So if you want to potentially get together, have another live stream, I am fucking down for that.
Well, I can definitely say Wednesday's the easiest, and I'm
Yep.
perfectly fine with late at night, so long as you get enough time before you after you get work. Is
Yeah, like it's
like that's the quickest that I could think of.
okay.
Or because at the same time it's like I should be able to present you something halfway through that time period though.
Okie doke.
So it's like even then you and I can go over it one more time before we hit live stream. How about that?
That rocks for me.
So we'll keep that session to a minimum of just here's a few renditions, which balancing act does it look that looks the best, and I'll go through each one why I think that this one works better than the other one, or why this one might be the ideal. I'm pretty much I'll probably come from an arguing point of like all three of them work. It's just a matter of what you think though. Because I can
Yeah.
argue it's like cause that's what a lot of things come down to is like even after a while like the first design is like I can argue the point of like that was closer to what that grittiness, and not only that but I presented it saying like that actually looks very much like any pirate flag because they have that kind of grittiness, that kind of somebody just slapped together on a flag kind of drawn look to it.
Yeah.
And that's why like I felt like the was it the cutlasses have that kind of look because they're simplified to a point where somebody was like just draw two swords over each other enough to we see it. But
Yeah.
and that's why the hilt, like my first version of the hilt, had like intricate. And like I'm going way overboard. What am I doing? That's too much. Too much. Like it's like I can understand, yeah, but that completely takes away from the heart of the of a pirate. Pirate flag is like I don't need that much detail. And the same things like I might want to pull back on the design of the skull just a little bit because we don't need a heavy detail. We want it probably similar to that of like a pirate flag.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
So
yeah,
there's even some aspect of me saying like I might even want to simplify that just a little bit. See what I can take out and see if it keeps it, recognizable at the same time of not giving up like a tremendous amount of detail because like I want to be enough. Yeah, because now that I have a skull started, I can play with it.
absolutely. And that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Yes. Again, do you want to say anything here at the end? Again, you have Instagram,
Oh,
something like
yeah.
ended that kind of stuff because by all means like take a moment,
Yeah.
promote yourself a little
I
bit.
would have a website and I would have a Facebook, but I'm waiting on somebody to finish my logo. As soon as that's finished, I'll have those. Otherwise, Evernham.photography on Instagram currently as we speak.
Yes, and it is in the description down below, so you can always hit that link. It's right in the Instagram one, so you'll see mine for BoogieMan Inc. and then you'll see his right below it. So they're both there. So by all means, please go see his work. It is some great stuff. Because to be honest, like I love racing and dirt racing. The way you capture it is just absolutely beautiful.
I
It
appreciate that.
really looks so great. I seriously I look forward to always seeing your pictures whenever I can, and whenever you post them too. So
Yeah, I'm definitely appreciate it, and I'm sure you and I will have plenty more live streams in the future moving forward because there's potential other big ideas
Yeah.
brewing. They are. Let me tell you, you just don't know. But we'll get to that at a later date and time. I once again appreciate it.
You're welcome, and I appreciate you being so willing to let us, take this through and be alive with it, and pretty much telling me to just slap myself in the face and let's just do it.
Absolutely.
So,
Sometimes the best way is to be thrown into the water with the sharks.
yep, it is. You either sink or swim.
Damn right. But you have yourself a good evening, sir.
All right. Enjoy your evening too, and thanks. All right. Well, thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Fear. Thank you for coming out, saying something. Thank you, Brian, again for the like there. I appreciate it very much. So again, this is a nice little way to present some of the other work, and not only that, but I thought it would be a great way, and especially with Jonathan's encouragement, we both agreed that it was really our open discussion as creators is not something we should hide. We should present it, put it out there. So if we can at least help one person see that a lot of us have that same struggle, same problems, same things that we strive to overcome. You know that you won't be so alone, and it does help when you know you're not alone in trying to change your life, trying to change where you've been. So again, appreciate it. If you do like what you see, by all means, please hit like. It helps promote and let other people see too. And if you happen to be so inclined, you can hit the subscribe button to always see more. Like Jonathan was saying, we've been we discussed quite a bit, and we have quite a few ideas that we might see come out in a little bit later. So I'm pretty darn tired. It is pretty darn late. But again, this is the BoogieMan dancing on out of here. Catch you critters later. Bye.